Good morning, Kriparan sir.
Good morning, sir.
Can we start, Kriparan?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning. The beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. Happy morning and warm greeting from this organizing team for the AICT sponsored Atal FDP on Advancement in Battery Management System and its Application. I now request Dr. J. Karpagam, Professor, Department of EEE and Coordinator Atal FDP to welcome the gathering.
Good morning to one and all joined here. It is for the 5-day FDP, Atal FDP on advancements in battery management and its applications. I wholeheartedly welcome our chief guest and resource person of today's first session, Engineer J.S. Kribagaran, Executive Engineer, Nippon Audiotronics, Noida. Welcome you, sir. It's an immense pleasure in welcoming our beloved head of the department, Dr. V. Kumar Chinnayan, for delivering the inaugural address. Welcome you, sir. I am happy to welcome all the participants from all over India and showing interest in attending our FDP. Welcome you all and join the gathering. So this FDP gives more insight on battery management system and its applications. As we know, battery management system in an electric vehicle is heart of the electric vehicle. It plays a vital role in safe operation of EV. So this BMS monitors voltage, current, temperature, charging and discharging of batteries. So this FDP gives you in detail about all this management systems and battery technologies, about the recent advancements in lithium-ion batteries and the storage technologies used in the EV systems. I am sure that this FDP will give you more insight on this BMS systems. With this short note, I once again welcome one and all present here for this 5-day FDP. Welcome you, sir. Welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role always, but about the goal. I welcome Dr. V. Kumar Chinnayan, Head Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, to, to give away the inaugural address.
Yeah, thank you, son. So once again, I am joining hands with Dr. J. Karpagam and the Ravikumar sir in welcoming the resource person as well as the participants from across the country. A brilliant good morning to all. So it's really a great pleasure in organizing such a emerging topic, that is the advancements in battery management system and its applications. So definitely the session spread over across the 5 days is going to give the insight about the recent developments which is happening in the battery management side. And we are all aware about the things going on in India. Already the government of India gave the push on the electrical vehicles through the FAME 1 and FAME 2. And we are all aware about the spiraling petroleum prices in the recent days. In certain metros, the petrol prices crossed even the triple digit, that is the 100 rupees too. So in order to overcome such difficulties, the only alternate is to go for the electric vehicles. And the government of India is also giving a great push on this particular area. And it is directly affecting the GDP growth of the country, because the 90% of the petroleum products what we are using are distributed across the country is achieved through the import from the OPEC countries or the OPEC nations. So again, it gives a direct impact on the current account deficit as well as the foreign exchanges. So it's a high time to go for the EVs, and the backbone or the building block for the EV is the battery. And when it comes to the battery, n number of parameters, that is the umpteen parameters shall be monitored, and which is achieved through this battery management system. So definitely the resource person spread across the 5 days is going to give the great insight about these topics. And already the European countries or the Nordic countries are in the higher side, and they are almost achieved 80%, 90%, and a few countries achieved the 100% EV population also. And as far as Tamil Nadu or the India is concerned, the Telangana is the pioneer of establishing the battery manufacturing hub, and Tamil Nadu is also working on it, and Karnataka already started in collaboration with the Tesla, and they are going to bring in the huge changes. And the government of India through the Niti Aayog, they established or they are in the talk with the Australian organizations to have the lithium ores in the Australia, because they are having the huge quantum of the lithium ore in their country. So definitely in the years to come, this battery system is going to get evolved like any other product, which is going to be an affordable one, and through which the EV penetration is going to be larger. And hope by 2025, the two-wheelers are going to be the EVs, and by 2030, at least the 30% of the four-wheelers, that is the LCV or the HCV, heavy commercial vehicles, are going to be the electric vehicles. Already Mahindra is working, the Tata is working, and the Ashok Leyland, that is by the Hinduja Group, they are also working on it. And in addition to these private players, government sectors such as BEL, DR, DO are working on it, and definitely which is going to be a great future. And with these technologies, the participants will get the enough knowledge on the battery management system as well as the EV, and which is going to be the future for the electrical or the allied branches also. And I congratulate the organizers for providing me the opportunity and choosing the right topic at the right time. Definitely, it's a nation building measures, and I congratulate all the participants also. And you are all going to contribute to the nation building. So with this, I thank you, the organizers, for providing the opportunity. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. It doesn't matter where you go and what you learn. What matters most is what you share with yourself and the world. I now request Dr. R. Uttarasamy, Organizing Committee Member, Atal FDP, to introduce the resource person.
Good morning to all gathered here. In this delightful occasion, I am very much happy to introduce our today's resource person, Engineer J.S. Kirubakaran, Executive Engineer, Nippon Audiotronics, Noida. So he is an alumni of KPR IET, and he is a young and dynamic person. He is very well experienced in the field of automobile and its allied sector. He enhanced his practical skills towards the framework of EV, powertrain for EV technology, and power converters for the EV with a battery management systems. Currently, he is working as an electronics and hardware application engineer in the field of body control module under advanced driver assist systems. He is well expertise and experienced to handle battery management system for electric vehicles. So we have an immense joy to call upon our today's resource person, Engineer J.S. Kirubakaran, to handle today's session of battery system engineering and overview. Kirubakaran, sir, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you so much.
Kirvan sir, can you share your screen? We'll check it.
Yeah, I'm starting to share.
It is visible, Kirubakaran.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I shall start now.
Yes, please.
So once again, a warm good morning to everyone present and overall the state who has come and participated in this meeting. Thank you so much for your And so today the topic is about battery systems engineering. So in which I'll be giving an overview of how it is designed. Like as an automobile engineer, an auto part supplier, we have studied some of the parts of the battery or EV, so that we have made certain benchmarks of this is how it should be. Like we have benchmarked ourselves with the performance of the batteries from Tesla or some other German vehicles, German auto e-vehicles. So after this all things, we have just started. We have made some small benchmarking, and that has been given us one of the presentation now. So getting into the innards of the topic. So just a brief introduction of how the battery came into the existence and what this mean by battery system and the reverse engineering as well as engineering battery system technology, and of course the management of the battery system in an efficient way, and also its advancement of battery management system. So getting into the existence part. So when the first atom was discovered, like I'll just take it as since it is like a beginning, I'll just give it as a story way that it will be like, in a into way that we can have a knowledge or we can have a study on the past, how everything got changed from day to day and from decade to decade. So nowhere before the discovery of the first atom, they have imagined, or there was no such knowledge that or any ideas that how the battery science will be going to change the future or any of the days. And so after that, after the first electron was actually discovered, and again the sub parts of the atoms or subcomponents or subconstituents of the atom, we can say, as electron, proton, neutron, everything has been come into the existence space where it was discovered, and it paved its way to the contribution, and which created a parallel dimension in the advancement of the technologies or whatever it is being used today. So since we all know that the phase or the word called current, that parameter comes into the existence only when the electron was found. Only the movement of electron was said to be the current, and based on the current and whatever the potential given to them is said to the voltage, and everything is just played on the electrons. So which plays an important role in the discovery of the battery as well. Sorry, invention of the battery as well. And then comes the knowledge of charges. So there were three things that came into the existence, and which was again categorized into static, dynamic charges, and from the conversion, the way, the methodology of invention to change one static charge, one form of charges into other, and vice versa. And then come the discovery of the first cell, which was one of the most important thing, and which was to be said to be one of the top-notch discovery of so far. And the different methodologies of using the cells, and based on the methodology there come a different, based on the methodologies in which the cell were used, there came and again primary cell, secondary cell, or like this kind of cells came into the existence. And after all this invention of the first battery is nothing but a group of cells connected in serious manner, and also based on the application, it is in some kind of applications it is usually done in parallel manners also. And so there is one point left. So the modern dimension of the era in science and technology started after the gap, which I have left above point in the middle, with a variety of application and research. So from the first battery, from the first cell which was converted into a battery, and from the first battery which it was used for, and the battery what is being used today, is completely of 360-degree, we can say more than a 360-degree study had been done in the battery from the first stage of the inventions and lot of advantages, I mean, lot of advancements based on the advantages what it has to give and the research phase in which it has been involved. Everything has been done. And today we are having e-vehicles which runs on battery. That too, we are having a charging stations there and there in which it can be used for like multiples of variants or whatever it is of the vehicles. So just a small introduction of battery system. It is just a lot of electric cells connected in series manner, which is said to be an electric battery. And for a cell, we can say that either the cell can be primary as well as secondary. So based on what the cell is being used, the battery system completely gets changed. But most of us will be going only by the secondary cells, and the primary cell of battery systems is not being mostly used. And so coming into the engineering part of the battery system technology, so this has been in a complete way how we just go to our suppliers or our manufacturers where we get the battery. So some of the points what we concentrate on, or what the engineers has to concentrate, or what the overall structure of overall essence of engineering a BST will be. So the first will be the electrical design. So this I am changing it. I mean separating is as two different things. One is on design stage and one is on storage stage. Whatever you design and the efficient way of the efficient utilization of the battery will be either based on its storage or its utilization. No matter what the electrical design of the battery and mechanical design, whatever it has been done from the design part of the battery, is no match with the storage, because the storage also plays an important role in it has its very own path and very own story for changing the aspects of and changing the concepts of batteries which is being used or which is being thrown away, whatever it is, the storage part plays an important role. So here I just kept an example of only three of lead acid, nickel based, and lithium based. So since lithium based nowadays it is becoming like as previous Sir said, like nickel based batteries are becoming more and more, and Tesla is keen on using this. And moreover, lot of OEMs like Mahindra, Tata, and whatever others, like they are coming for this e-vehicles and HEVs, whatever. So they are keen on using this lithium based batteries, and also they are looking for some other research fields in, like, instead of using lithium alone, and they are checking for the feasibility of lithium graphene or graphene with some other materials which can be more than efficient with in place of lithium, this kind of things. On design part, mostly everyone knows that the electrical part will be there and the mechanical design will be there. Of course, mechanical design is one of the most important thing that paves its way for electrical design, and its validation. Of course, validation is one of the most important thing when it comes for a battery, because we don't know. We can design that the battery will be working in this voltage, like say particular 12 volt, 24 volt, whatever it is. But the validation of the part, in if we are setting a for example, if you are setting a 400 megawatts of batteries in a vehicle, in an EV, for example, and you just manufacture it electrically, mechanically, it is done, and you are just placing it in a vehicle, and it is not getting into your vehicle's condition, because in vehicle you have motors, you have some rotors and other lights, infotainments, this, that, whatever. Every components comes there, and of course the communication between one ECU of your vehicle to other ECU takes so much of your energy, and everything has to be accommodated into one particular cell box, sorry, battery box. So that for that kind of environment testing, we'll be doing it as a validation test. And getting into the first on design, the first part will be the electrical design. And as I told you, electrical design of the battery is like the heart of a child, heart of a human, or whatever the living structures. So this an ideal battery should be designed in such a way that it withstand the behavior over 0 to short circuit incident. So whatever the current value it is, or whatever the parameters involved in the electrical, whatever, so that should be like, it should have to withstand whatever. If it is also a short circuit, it should not completely waste its energy. It should be in a manner that it should be efficiently reluctant to whatever the short circuit is happening. And so that is where the complete structure of body, battery management system comes in. And tests like EMC, electromagnetic compatibility of the battery, should be supported in the electrical design, whatever the aspects, or whatever the what specifications we give to the electrical design of a battery while manufacturing, that should be supportive to EMC. And EMI, electromagnetic interference, should be as minimized as possible, and which comes to be a necessary feature that holds energy efficient. If it is having some EMI in your battery, and you are just keep on working on your battery, and it's discharges in a very much and fast, quicker way. So EMI must be reduced in such a way that the battery's life is not completely discharged, or discharged at a very minimal rate. So this EMC and EMI for batteries, as well as whatever it comes, whatever the electronics or electrical parts, they have their standards from the international, as well as some in Indian OEMs. They are also following some of the Indian standards, which must have to be fulfilled by that particular device. Of course, batteries now also co- battery also comes under that particular part. And the other thing will be the cost assessment. Whatever the materials we are using, like anode, cathode, or whatever, so that should be of cost assessment, and that should be made a cost assessment. And requirements, based on the requirements, we should have to analysis like what, either it should have to go by lithium, as I told you before, or it can be done with nickel or some other cobalt based batteries. And this kind of things can be based on, only the design has to be started only based on the requirements. And the complete thing will be again the cost, and how the energy is being stored, or how it is being used, and the battery cycle timing, and the life studies of how many cycles that the battery can be used in one particular life cycle of a battery. If you are placing one set of one complete battery kit in your EV, and it is said to be that excuse me, so this is said to be that this kind of the battery system should have to withstand this much life cycles of charging and discharging. This is also, again, this also comes under one of the standards of uh, you know battery design. And analysis of the recycling of core materials. So if even if the mechanical design, outside mechanical design got any split out, or if you are trying to utilize the same electrical design into some other mechanical design, you should have to be able to recycle it, reuse the core materials without any damages or without any wastages. Say for example, lithium batteries, whatever you use today, will be good in a sort of aluminum coil, but when we are starting it with some other parts like manganese or something, whatever the battery comes in, so at that time the heat generation from your aluminum part and the heat generation with the other materials what being used will automatically change. So this kind of core material change completely changes both the efficiency as well as when you change the core materials of your battery, as well as your cost increases or your cost varies. Of course, if your cost decreases, again your efficiency is going to be getting decreased in a huge way. And again, since this electrical design and everything is based only on this PEs and EV, I mean HEVs or whatever electric vehicles that is coming into the market or the manufacturing ideas. So based on the requirement analysis, like what is the electric vehicle doing, like whether it is a domestic electric vehicle or some kind of intracity, intercity, this kind of commencement again comes into the action and going into the mechanical phase. So mechanical design will be of, with durability and crashworthiness to requirements like serviceability, again the recyclability. So since I have told the design, if the electric vehicle, since I think everyone is aware that the furthermore, I mean the previous models of whatever the Teslas or whatever the e-vehicles that comes into the market were facing this issue in the very beginning stage. When even when Tesla was doing the same, it was actually done that there was some fire issues if it is getting crashed with in in traffic or in any walls. The durability and the reliability of the batteries is getting reversed, that the battery is not working the battery is not working fine, and there was some cutoff voltage which happens in the battery systems. This kind of things happen due to the mechanical designs as well as the improper management systems of the batteries. So again, the mechanical design should be able to be recycled for multiple core materials. And so in this, I have just made us two different concepts, like using the same electrical core materials in other mechanical designs and other mechanical designs in, I mean, multiple mechanical designs for a single electrical core components. So then this kind of things, there is something called reusability, in which we can be, which paves another way of research field, and a single material will be used for multiple cores, and I mean single core will be used for multiple materials. This kind of thing comes in, and the battery cost again reduces its complete to the minimum, I mean to the maximum of how much it can be reduced. That is the way, and that is how the reproducibility can be done. And IP based in the field of batteries covering various aspects. So this kind of things should be made battery monitoring system. So this should have to have a particular, you know, so since battery monitoring system, when we are talking about it, so it is a complete electronic part which will be communicating between your, your battery systems as well as the your, any of your user interfaces, whatever, like it will come to that, whatever the things like cell phone, your infotainment in your car, or your web, you can have a web page also, whatever it is. And the module design, how the battery is being used inside it, and the cell to cell connection, cooling concepts. Of course, cooling concept is one of the main important thing when it comes for a mechanical design. If you are using some, like like high wattage of batteries being used into your electric vehicles or whatever, not only electric vehicles, whatever the load we are using, it will anyhow be generating heats. So for that, when it comes for EV, the particular fact or the changing factor of the EV will be, of course, the thermal management. So that is why I'm just talking about EV as a lot of in lot of places, and the cooling concept for that, it will be like one of the most essential thing which will be needed, and the retention of the battery same. So coming into the validation, so battery testing analysis supports several complementary, and also it is a crucial aspect of the battery development phase. because if it fails in the validation and if you can't, you know, say for example, if you are working in the optimum voltage in which the vehicle runs is around 12 volts for every whatever the components you use inside, it runs in 12 volt, like your door lock system or your infotainment or your cluster display, whatever you use, it is of everything is of 12 and less than 12 volts. So we'll be testing the battery, or the manufacturer of the battery will be testing, will be subjected to, or will be asked, and will be, it is a must do condition in which he should have to test in a variety of voltages like 3 volts, 6 volts, 9 volts, 10, and going into more than 25 voltages, 30, 64 voltages. This kind of test has to be done. And yes, as I said, one of the important parameter, EMC, EMI, that should have to be passed. And you know, those standards of batteries, if you are looking at that, I have not captured that in this presentation, but if you are Googling for the validation test of the battery, it is one of the, one of the most crucial thing. Like when you compare the test of battery with some other designs, you can see there will be a much of deviation actually. Because this battery, if it is being short circuited, there is some kind of, it is some kind of thing that can go wrong in any aspects, like when you get into a crash, there might be some what you can get into fire, the vehicle can get into fire, and or else your vehicle might not start, and it might stop in very, your doors might get lock you in and everything, this kind of thing. So we'll be testing on the battery for, like, multiples of days, multiple of times, multiple of standards. There are like hundreds to something around 100 validation tests were there for the battery testing alone. And based on the application, it again comes into the changes, because based on the working voltage, again we will be giving some of the voltage tests. And based on the working condition, working environment, working, moisture condition, or whether it is being used in uh, hill regions, or whether it is being used in any cold places, or where the winter fall is there, or whether it is used in summer season, where the summer season is the hot places, or where there is no rain or no snowfall, that kind of things, everything will be captured in the validation testing. And a benchmark testing of an emerging technology can of the latest industry development. So this point is just captured to know that if one particular battery design is coming into existence, the standards again comes into the existence, like a new standard comes into the existence, we can say. So in that case, actually, for the battery A, if you are bringing it into the existence part, like you are engineering a new battery of any something called a battery A, and that battery is new and no standards is matching. No standard, of course, will match with your battery design, since your requirement might get changed. This kind of things might, electrical design is of course completely changed, mechanical design might be changed. So this kind of things again should have to be tested, particularly in all conditions of requirement. And based on that requirement, there will be a standard made, and that standard is being used as a benchmark for other developments. When it comes for, battery B, and this battery B is like half the amount of the battery A, and we can see that this test in which A has passed, or the standards of A can be replicated for battery B as well. So the benchmarking of the battery is also, important thing. And these are the things like battery testing activities, like how the battery testing, there are a lot of things that need to be done. And while validation, the performances, the life and abuse, testing of contract deliveries, and performance life. Okay. testing of laboratory, and again it comes in the two different parts where we are giving into the everything that comes in, like when it comes under a research part and manufacturing part, there will be two things. So one will be in your lab. Once you are the researchers, if you are they are doing in a complete state, they'll be testing it in their end. And the other end, parallelly, when it comes for a OEM under development or whatever, the manufacturer starts developing it, they'll be again doing the same in the laboratory or any other particular, like some Indian standards of validation teams were there. So they will be again doing it in the particular environment in a separate laboratory. And again, this again next thing, testing of benchmark systems from industry. So again, the validation, since I have given this example that battery A standard can be again benchmarked and used for battery B. And again, if battery C is coming in under existence, and again the standards comes and this keeps on rotating as a complete loop. And also if any of the electrical parameters getting matched with battery A, B, C, and whatever it is, so that test can be, it can be used or replicated as a same. And thermal analysis, thermal testing and modeling. So this one of the important thing, thermal analysis that has to be done. Excuse me. No, sorry. And when the thermal analysis comes into the existence, uh, as I told earlier, the thermal part is one of the important thing that comes, like the whatever the electrical mechanical aspects might be, the thermal analysis should have to be done, and the thermal, the heat must have to be reduced. It is of like two things. One, overheating of the battery might get the damage of your battery, as well as the application where the battery is being used. So this kind of things also comes in. And the development of new test procedures, like if you want to do it in a particular condition, like environment is getting changed, like I'm developing a car, I'm developing a battery to be used in harder part of the world, and I'm using it in a colder part of the world. So there will be a discrepancies, mismatching between the parameters of environment. Say for example, I have developed a product, I have developed a battery A again. So that battery will be used only in the southern part. That is what my requirement is. So if I was trying to replicate, if I'm trying to use it in, in a colder part, again, there comes to be a development phase. So since my battery is not even matching with any of the colder parts, and I would have not tested it. So whatever the environment, whatever the requirement field is, whatever the requirement of the battery it is made, but the validation test will be made for all standards. Like if it is a 12-volt battery, the battery should have to withstand from minus 40 to plus 85 or plus 100 degrees Celsius as well. There are batteries which do undergo this test before getting into manufacturing. And of course, the current test procedures. What is the change of current when I use this particular? So everything of your car or whatever the appliances is connected directly or indirectly to your battery. So it is one of the source of your application. So the battery must have to be tested at multiple current test procedures. Like say if I'm having 5 loads connected to the battery, and I test 5 loads first, and after that I'll be starting to test of multiple loads. Like first five, my condition, my requirement is pass. That's all. That is fine. And what is the maximum that it can withstand? So I'll be starting to add a load again and again, so that the current consumption gets higher, higher, higher. So at last, when there is a saturation, that is where I can validate the battery. Like this battery, which stands from this load to this load. Normally, like the maximum and minimum current that can be withdrawn from this at a particular time and particular life cycle of a battery can be set via invalidation. And storing. So since I have already told that storing is one of the most important thing that comes into, the it determines the life of the battery. This is how it should be said. Like, and whatever it is, like it is a primary cell, secondary cell, rechargeable, non-rechargeable, whatever. This kind of batteries, every battery or every material which is being used in a battery has its particular storage capacity or its storage, storage environment, I can say. And so this criteria must have to be checked in the manufacturer's level. So this again comes into a standard, particular standard. If the particular manufacturer is manufacturing a battery or any of the cells or whatever it is, not only for batteries, but any of the cells or whatever. So at that time, there is a standard he must have to follow and regulate in his manufacturing setup, that this condition has been given for this particular battery to be stored in his premises. And the first thing is like recommended storage of most of us like batteries around at 15 degrees Celsius, which is one of the most optimum temperature and for the batteries. And the extreme allowable is like minus 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. Sometimes it goes beyond, because when it comes for a huge battery systems, like or like 100 200 batteries in a particular 50 to 20 single cells of batteries were connected, and I'm making a battery pack. So that comes like around, that can't be given in 50 degrees Celsius. So that should have to be again reduced. So based on what the size and what the electrical parameters of the battery is, this size changes. I mean, the temperature allowable range gets changes. And this is for one of the most manufacturers and industrial standards. And so since I have said already, I have just done three parts like lead, nickel, and lithium based batteries. So one is the first is the lead. So lead can be sealed and used for up to, I mean, stored up to 2 years without much of its discharge. Of course, the battery, I will not say that the battery will not get into the discharge phase itself, but there will be a optimum level of, say, there is some tolerance level for a battery that at particular time this much amount of um, their charges can get discharged. And since all batteries gradually discharge over time, it is important to check the voltage and then apply a charge. So what the manufacturers actually do is they manufacture and store it in a particular location of the optimum temperature based on what the battery is being used. And again, while the they want to give it to any of the customers or any of the OEMs, whatever. So at that time, what they do is they do a final check either at their premises or at the customer's premises, that they'll be starting to check what the potential between potential in the battery is. Like they'll be leaving it to up to 70 percentage in most cases, as nowadays they are leaving up to 60 percentage also, 60% of state of charge, and after that they start to charge it again and they just sell it to the customer. So some battery manufacturer, the point is mentioned below, let the lead acid to drop to 60% before recharge. There are two things. One, that cycle time that takes discharge from 70 to 60, whatever, from 100% to 70 and 70 to 60. This takes like a considerable time in which you can make your profits in the cost of your recharge. So they'll just, but charging from 60 to 100 and 70 to 100 or more or less same. The costing of the charging can be more or less same. So most of the manufacturers who design whatever, not only for lead acid, whatever that is, this is particular standard for lead acid. That is what is being mentioned here. But most of the OEMs, I mean, sorry, manufacturers who make this, you know, this three, the batteries, whatever the batteries they are manufacturing, they are doing the 60%. Some will be leaving it to 20, 30. That is also considerable based on what the electrolyte is being used. If the electrolyte being used is ready to charge your system in a very less time and very, uh, minimal cost, then it is fine. It is not a problem. Like, it happens in lead acid also, like the batteries and also the batteries which we use in automobile. There are people who used to that battery of your car, the gasoline car, not the electric vehicles, just the cars which is in the market available now. So in this, they used to drain the battery. They'll be using it completely until the battery gets drained, and after that they'll be charging it. So this not happens in the car. Like they'll be using it in, they'll be removing your battery and they'll be keeping it aside and they'll be using it for different purposes. And after all charges get discharged, they'll be connecting again to that, I mean, to your car. They'll charge it up. They'll use your car. They'll use the car. They'll charge it back. And again, this kind of things, I have seen this kind of things like happening. So that is the fact. And low charge induces sulfaction. Sulfaction is the oxidation layer that comes on the negative plate. You can see in your, that, what is that, Eveready battery, the red color one. You can see if it is like not used for a long time or being used in a very harsh manner, there is this sulfaction layer that comes in. So this actually inhibits your current flow, and since this also has to be, reduced, or it should be avoided from those kind of things. And for nickel based, the storage can be done for 3 to 5 years based on the requirement. This again comes for as per the requirement, because where the nickel based batteries are being used, so at that requirement, it is the minimum years which was given to get stored is 3 to 5. But when it comes for the requirement, it should be done for 2. Actually, the storing is also one of the thing that I forgot to tell you in the beginning, that the storing should also be confirmed and also be given as a requirement from your customer. Like if, say for example, I am manufacturing a battery systems, like whatever the anode cathode is, whatever the system it is, and some person, like you people coming to the manufacturer and saying like, I need this particular battery for this particular requirement for this particular application, and there is a written statement again that the battery what you are providing to me should have to be, like, stored in this particular uh, condition and for this particular time. This is one of the written statement where it comes when it comes for, the RFQ phase or something. And nickel based batteries can be stored in a fully discharged state. Since I told you this early, like with no apparent side effect, since nickel based can be used in such a way that it can be used in, like, stored in a fully discharged state. But there will be, like, there is no battery that can withstand like fully discharged state, but an optimal amount. Say if I'm storing at 12 volt, when I'm taking it after, like, when I want it, it will be like it is based on actually the you know, the specific gravity of your battery as well. So since the specific gravity is also, you know, one of the leading factor that causes your battery to withstand your state. For example, the point in lead acid, if I'm storing the battery in 12 volts and due to the specific gravity, the voltage which I will be going to measure after the particular time will be around 12.42. So there is a contribution of the specific gravity as well as for the battery, which gives you from 12 volt to 12.42 volt for lead acid. This is one of the standards actually for making the lead acid battery. Like the specific gravity is this much, and the battery what you're working should be this, and the difference at 70 percentage should be like this. And the nickel again coming, it can be recommended storage is around 40% state of charge. So for this one, you should have to charge it, I mean, store it at 40% of charge. And this minimizes the age-related capacity loss and allowing for some self-discharge. This happens. Every battery comes up with its self-discharge. So and lithium based. So lithium based is one of the virtually there is no self-discharge happening. That is what it is said, but it is also physically and electrically. It is also having a discharge phase. It will also get into the discharge phase, and at 20 degrees Celsius, there should be at 4 volt, storing at 3.7 volt yields like longevity of our most lithium ion systems. And also like when you are storing, the people used to always they'll not, once you are going to store the battery, they'll not charge it completely. That is also one point that manufacturers will do. Since anyhow there will be a discharge phase that happens, the battery, whatever is being manufactured, whatever the material is being used, whatever the material is being used, the manufacturers will not completely charge it for 100%, 90%. They'll just leave it at 95, 85, 70. Like since in the previous cases, there will be no discharge phase. The discharge phase starts from 70 percentage or the percentage in which they are placing the SOC of the battery. And finding the exact 40 to 50% of state of charge SOC level to store lithium is not that important. Like since in the previous cases, as I told, like for lead acids at 70 or 60%, it should have to be charged, and this kind of things I told. But here in lithium ion, since it is the electrolyte as well as the electrical components being used inside this battery, lithium based battery is like uh, much efficient. So it is being used for they'll just leave it for complete discharge, and after that also they are ready to use it. But as per standard, like there are some things that at this particular temperature, this. And then moving to the next point, at 40% charge and has a OCV of 3.82 volts per cell at room temperature, and the correct reading can be taken after a charge or discharge, and the rest for 90 minutes before taking the reading. So this is how one, since the electrolytes, or once you start charging it, the electrolytes gets active, and the continuous momentum of your ions will be there inside the electrolytes going from cathode to anode in whatever the direction based on the ions being having that moment. And so based on that, so they'll be charging it, they'll be just keeping it as such for some particular time, say like they have mentioned 90 minutes for taking the reading, so that all momentum of the ions as well as the electrolytes gets settled. And that is where you can check your potential or your whatever the parameter you want to take reading of that can be done in that particular time. So, and again, if this is not practical, overshooting the discharge voltage by 50 millivolts or go 50 volts higher on charge. Like as I told, like due to the specific gravity, it's also paying its contribution to your, the charge. They'll be keeping charging at, you know, uh, overcharge it. Like they'll be charging it a bit higher than your required level. If it is the battery is 12 volt, I'll be charging it for 12.5 or 13 volt or 14. So that again comes into the standard. Like this particular battery should have to withstand the range of this. I mean, it should have to give a current value of this to this based on what the load is being used. So based on that, the voltage again, whatever is being used inside, the battery should have to withstand, I mean, should have to contribute to the value what is being expected from the requirement. And the rest of the batteries as well, like what are the batteries, like what we use other than from the manufacturing sites or from, from OEM aspects. There are some batteries like we are using at our households, which mostly will be neglected from most of the liable tests. Like, the everready battery, what we use to our application starts, whatever. So that will be that battery, and some other leading batteries are also getting their, the test what is being used. So since the electrical parameters or might be same or what, so that kind of situations they'll be, getting out of their validation test. And since some of them are replicated, like again, for with an example, not with a direct one, just an example. A and B, there are two batteries, and I'm making a battery C. So which will be a replicant of A and B. So I'll be just considering that this and this is okay. If this two is getting passed, then whatever the battery I'm going to use that point bracket C will also pass that test. So they'll be neglecting the validation and they'll just start to manufacture and just give. So at that time, some of the batteries come to our hands that we'll be using in households or we'll be using in any of other things. So some knowledge oriented things, and in their original the battery what we use in our home should be just kept in the original packing unless it is being used, and they are not in contact with, they should not be in contact with other batteries, like putting it in a serious manner or any shortings. So this kind of thing should not be done unless if it is necessary. And if the original packing is missing, then the batteries in the container with pack the batteries in, like in a like the positive ends facing one direction inside a box, like usually how we used to store our batteries in our home. And do not store batteries with the opposing ends touching one another, since it gets in a serious manner and the discharge phase takes place. And avoid storing household batteries with other metal objects like disc staples or loose chain, etc. Since it starts for short circuit might happen, and which could then cause the battery to leak. And the batteries of the same type and age stored together, and avoid mixing different kinds of batteries with varying levels of power. And this is one of the important thing what we do. Like we, for example, appliances being used so with two or three one battery goes out, we'll be changing one particular battery which goes, but not the next of the two. So this again implies the efficiency of the battery, since the battery age as well as the battery what the voltage present, like it is a 1.5 volt battery is kept into a like any appliances. So I'm having 3 into 1.5, one goes out and the other two are working at a discharge phase. It is getting discharged for the last few days in which it is being used. So if I am trying to replicate only one, again, the since again when it comes for the complete appliances, your board will be, I mean, your main battery system will be used. I mean, your appliances will be using the batteries what you have connected with one new and two old batteries which were already there in a series as well as parallel, whatever the connection it is being taken, how the the supply is given into the PCB of the battery based on that. So in that condition, again, if this particular two voltage is not able to give you the perfect output, and the battery what you have changed is giving you the perfect output, there is a mismatch between your appliances, and that will again affect your appliance as well as the older batteries what you have placed. And make sure that the batteries won't be punctured or crushed while they are in storage. Like this one thing, like in childhood, what we always usually do, if there is one old battery which is being you have it not used, or it is the old battery which got completely drained, and that battery will be opening it up and will be puncturing. That can be done, but not in the batteries which is being stored for the future use, and keep them inside a container that cannot be smashed or otherwise damaged. This step is essentially, there are two things. Once if it is damaged and you are using it, either it might get completely uh, blast out, because we can't at any instance we can't rely that the battery will be like whatever the voltage is, like even it is 1 volt, that battery will be withstanding your complete on all environments and all time. It will not be the same. So at that kind of things should have to be uh, completely prevented. And also it again it starts to damage your the leakage what comes from your damaged bracket, I mean sorry, battery that comes into your device, and your device and appliances whatever is being powered or sourced from your battery will get damaged. And for rechargeable batteries, again, batteries are used in dozens of devices from cell phone to power tools and cars. And to keep these batteries in good condition, store them at 40% of the capacity. Avoid depleting the battery entirely before storage. Like if you are about to store a lithium battery, and this should not be done, and charging the battery to 100% capacity before use. So this is what is being said in the previous slide on store, in that under the topic of store on store. So the battery will be I mean stored in one particular voltage level, and again it will be done for complete 100% capacity, it will be charged. And the thing what we usually do, like leaving the mobile to charge overall night, which will charge 100%. If there is another battery connected morning, it will be again 200%, 300% based on the battery's thing. But this should have to be, since we are using only till limited voltage, so this should have to be prevented, like removing the charged battery of your mobile or whatever laptops, whatever devices that can be recharged. That should be done, since what happens in this fast, since you all know the electrolytes, the ions in the electrolytes get separated. Again, the cycle starts from the opposite anode cathodes, and this again starts into a life cycle of charging, and again it starts your lifespan of your battery to decrease. And when it comes for the vehicle or car batteries, the best way to prevent or preserve a car battery from discharge is to use it. Like in OEMs, what we do is like we used to test the vehicle in whatever the test has to be done, and we'll just remove the negative or positive from the battery, and we'll just keep it as such, so that it will not get discharged, and there is also not since multiple tests are being done in the battery, in the car, in the OEM, will just, remove the battery, since we are testing multiple things inside the, car, that we'll be leaving some open wires. We'll be turning on the any of the lights, fans, sorry, not fans, lights, wipers, whatever being tested, and we'll just keep it as such. So at that time, it will start to discharge. So what we do is just remove the battery out, so that even if any devices inside the car is open or on, we'll not be will not be getting it from your battery, since your battery is completely removed and it also gets turned off. And if you are storing a car, you can't drive for more than a couple of months. Consider removing the car battery completely. Like if you are not using the battery, since some of your, if you are using some high-end vehicles of your any models, so the infotainment or cluster, or the alarm systems of your Maruti Suzuki having this kind of features actually. Like they have multiples of alarm in that, like shock control, this that, like for safety precautions they have. So even when the system is completely off, the part of your vehicle system is completely on. It will be in a steady state that it will be draining your battery. So in that condition, if you are not taking it up, and if your car is not being used for a long time, you can just stop it. You can just remove the battery completely, like what like how I mentioned before. Like either you can take the positive out or your negative out, or completely take it and keep it away. So, and the next important thing when it comes for the life cycle of a battery, and from until this is one of the battery system that comes in the manufacturing line, and what the few next slides will be. So the battery is being sold out, the method of being sold out, and efficiently managing the power and the consumption of the batteries. That is how. So first thing, there is one complete system called battery management system, and this manages a rechargeable battery, such as by protecting the battery from operating outside its safe operating state, monitoring its state and its SOC, state of charge, and calculating the secondary data, like whatever the data is, like voltage, current, number of life cycles, or that charge cycles, that charge and discharge cycles that happen, all comes under this, and reporting the data, controlling its environment, authenticating and or balancing it. So what made one of the questions that was asked is like how Tesla was able to launch a completely viable electric vehicles and successfully in the market after their first and the second incidents of being there was some safety issues, how they were able to manage this. So the answer is this: they have made a complete battery management system in an efficient way, in such that there is no parameters left. Like all parameters what are being involved inside this, whatever management system, whatever the management system used by Tesla in their car is satisfying all the points which has been mentioned in the first point, like its operating state outside the safe operating range, and the state monitoring, state charge monitoring, secondary data calculating. Like if I am using this much of loads in this particular time, what will be the current, and what will be the consumption of the charge, and what will be the use, and how the powertrain is getting into, how other components are connected into the powertrain. So there will be two separate things. For one is left for your motors, whatever. When it comes for electric vehicles, there are a lot of things that completely rely only on your battery. So the battery management system should be in such a way, it should be built in such a way that it should have to communicate, or it should have to, know its state. Like each and every battery in a particular battery system connected in a car should have to know each other's state. So this has been done in the management, or I mean battery management system of not only Tesla, most of the OEMs who comes up with this electric vehicles or HEVs, whatever, they are starting to make a completely strong battery management system. So must be again the battery pack built together with the battery management system with external communication data bus. So I have just made a battery management system. This should have to be anyhow communicated to anyone. Like the battery is low, this like how it came in MG. That is one of the most important feature. So that kind of things has to be happen in a communication bus, which is said to be smart battery pack, and the battery pack should have to be a battery charger as well. So this particular block diagram should have to be kept in the previous slide, which I have kept here. And so this is how the battery management will be starting from the lower level where the communication happens. And the thermal management again coming into that orange box is where your everything starts, your battery is there, everything starts. So your battery monitoring will be done with your data acquisition of your current, voltage, temperature, and this is given to your safety protection, everything. So this is how it happens. And again, from monitoring to battery state, what is the charge in which it is there. So if the voltage is this, current is this, and temperature is this is how the battery state, this is how the charge will be. Like you can see in your mobile, if you are using it, if the battery is getting, I mean, if your mobile is getting heated more and more, you can see that your battery discharging is also taking place simultaneously in a much quicker way than usual. So that is why they give inbuilt itself, they will be giving most of your apps which will be consuming less of your charge from your battery. And again, this too should have to be given anyhow to your user interfaces and electrical control based on the battery design. I mean, battery state. Based on the battery state, what the state is, your electrical control should have to happen. Like if your battery speed is less, I mean, sorry, if your battery state of charge is less than 5 to 10 percentage in your car, that EV will completely, reduce its speed, the motor speed or whatever the rotor mechanism being used in the electric vehicle will be of completely slow speed, and this reduces other functionalities. Like if the speed is being boosted and if your brake is not working in that particular uh, voltage, it is completely a different scenario, and the worst scenario. So based on what the state of the battery is, the electrical component whatever is connected into the battery, I mean your electric vehicle, will be used and utilized. So the functions of this is directly said in this block also, as like monitoring and energy recovery state has to be given for EV systems, and thermal management, computation of how much the charges or like the state determination we can say, and communication, protection, and battery connection to the load circuit, and optimization. So first point is I'll just make it quick now since everything is like understandable. I'll just make it quick. And the BMS may monitor the state of battery as like you see the voltages of individual cells or individual battery packs. That you can, I think you are aware of the EV will be having multiple of battery packs. So if you want, you can just see a particular cell, particular block alone, or based on whatever the periodic tabs of voltages were there, it will be based. We can take the input from that. And the temperature, since the battery, since I told you that average temperature, the coolant intake temperature, coolant output temperature, and the temperature of individual cells will be taken. So this all, like the temperature, in sense all temperatures whatever is being impacted in the vehicle, that all comes into this existence of BMS. And the coolant flow, like for which battery or to which section the coolant or the fluid should have to go and cool the batteries. And of course the current. And for this the second point, energy recovery point, this has been mentioned here. This will also control the recharging of the battery by redirecting the recovering energy, like from regenerative braking, one of the most growing aspects of automotive, as well as for energy conservation things, and back into the battery pack, like redirecting. If I'm using the brake, I'm just charging it again. That will be taking charge, and since the brake is applied, the battery will get again charged from due to this frictional force, and that's it. And the thermal management. So since thermal management is one of the most important thing, there are things like can be either passive or active. Whenever, and since whenever it is needed, it can come into existence. This coolant or cooling mechanism can come into existence based on any switches, like how we use for AC things. And active instance, there will always be a optimum temperature, like in a centralized AC room, and there will always be a optimum and a fixed temperature in the battery system, complete package of your battery system. And the cooling medium can either be air, liquid, or whatever the phase change. And air cooling is like, air cooling is having its advantages only in its simplicity. You can take if you are speeding car, or if it is like, whatever you are turning on your AC, there will be again some air coming in, going out. The same air can be given to this. But what happens is its inefficiency. So since large amount of power must be used to operate the cooling mechanisms, this is not only for air cooling, like it base or for all kind of cooling, but only thing which can come up to be an large amount of power will be like air cooling. So cooling mechanisms for more than active liquid cooling. Liquid cooling is like, it's just having a liquid. And when it comes for air, you must have to use some kind of any, like since like any of your air coolants in your vehicles or whatever. And liquid cooling has higher natural cooling potential than air cooling, as liquid coolant tend to have higher thermal conductivities than air. The batteries can either be directly submerged in the coolant, or coolant can flow through the batteries without directly contacting the battery. Thus, the powertrain to which the battery package is connected, to that we can make that the coolant can go like how we are directly doing it in the thermal power plants. Same, but a replica of the thermal management in power plants. And computation. So since this will be used for calculating the various terminologies which are most important for your uh, electric vehicles or whatever, the battery management, battery, when it comes for a battery, what are the parameters that has to be done? So voltage, state of charge, and state of health, as well as the state of power. So this all is one and one interrelated. And maximum charge current as charge current limit, and maximum discharge current as said in the previous slide. Uh, Based on the state of charge in which it is, the electrical components you can see in this block diagram, that based on the electrical state of your charge, it is directly uh, giving its impact on the electrical control. So maximum and minimum charge and discharge levels are also calculated and energy in kilowatt hour delivered since last charge or last cycle. The internal impedance of a cell or internal resistance water. The impedance also has to be calculated, since at different load consumption, different impedances will be there. And the charge delivered or stored. Total energy delivered since first use, and total operating time since first use, and total number of cycles. The last 4 points are like you can see in your mobile also, like when you started first, when you just turned on your mobile, how much battery has been drained so far after charging, discharging, after all the spaces, how much has been gone, and how many times have it have been charged, how many times it got full charge. This all comes under that. And communication, of course, there are some kind of things which will be given to any HMIs or your infotainment as cluster, this kind of things where you want. And also different kind of serial communications that can happen, or CAN bus communication, since every vehicle is having CAN and everything. Any protocols, this protocol can be just given into, you know, the same for data transmission of the battery state or battery parameters, whatever the parameters we have captured in the previous slide, that can be given as a data transfer to your HMI, or I mean, and through wireless communications like Bluetooth, everything. And a combination of hardware software restrictions, if there is any requirement, or if there is you know dark side that this cannot be done with hardware and software, or being completely restricted, since there are a lot of you know loads being used already. Electric vehicle is consuming every sort of hardware which is being used with, I mean, components which is being used with the battery. So it is not easy for data transmission to happen via, you are just making it as wireless communication, CAN bus serial communication, since any of that will also be impacting your completely reliable on your source for battery source for communications to happen. And in that case, there is two things like serial communications in isolated and the wireless manners that comes in existence, and protection. So protection is by preventing from outside operating outside its safe operating area. Like in the whatever the mobiles which comes today, most of the few mobiles what I have used, that is having like when it is 5% and below, it will not, make me to work. Like under lot of my apps get, see, this can be said as like smart saving also. Like if it is 5%, I can just get rid of unwanted apps. Just pass or just make the unwanted has to stop unless I start the charge cycle, or unless it is more than the cutoff voltages for in which it can comes in. So that kind of things can happen, and over current, over voltage. This can be, there can be a separate fuse or protection circuits that can be used for saving your battery from battery as well as your component from over current, over voltage, under voltage, over temperature, under temperature. Since you can see that if your temperature is higher, your battery can, your car can complete, just think that your battery gets completely isolated and your car gets parked in a and overpressure, ground fault, or leakage current detection. Since this ground fault or leakage current detection is like, it is one of the things that happens usually in an electric vehicle, or whatever the source, battery source, or whatever external source is being used. This kind of leakage current happens. So the complete vehicle, what we do is complete vehicle will be a ground for the battery. So wherever the leakage happens, the ground happen, the earthing happens via the body of the vehicle. So that kind of systems protection can be given for EMS. and including an internal switch which will be opened in the battery if it is the outside operating outside its SOC, and requesting the devices to which the battery is connected to reduce or even terminate using the battery. So this is what the smart saving options what I told earlier, and actively controlling the environment such as through heaters, fans, air conditioners, and liquid cooling. This actively should be done. And this point which I was mentioned in the previous slide, that connection from your load to your source, this will also be communicate. I mean, this will also be calculated, and this will also be kept in the another study of your BMS. Like when it is charging, it should have to get cut off. When it is discharging, it should have to again club up. There is a relay operation that happens. And optimization, like optimization, minimizing the battery's capacity, maximizing the battery's capacity, and to prevent it under charging or overcharging, the BMS can actively ensure that the batteries are kept in the same voltage. As since I told that the battery should be more or less kept in the same working voltage or state of charge through balancing. So this BMS can give a balancing by the below methods, like wasting energy from most charged cells by connecting them to the load, or shuffling energy from the most charged cells to the least charged cells. So this is where the action comes in. This is one of the optimization technique what Tesla has done actually. The first thing what they have thought was the first point, wasting energy from the most charged cell, so which became one of the dangerous impact. And the second thing is just like transferring from one cell to another. So this is why the BMS was actually getting advancements in, and reducing the charging current to a sufficient low level that will not damage fully charged cells. And modular charging. Modular charging in sense there will be a modules of you can see in the this block diagram in which there are a lot of monitoring ICs connected to MCU, to which your modules are also connected. So every module will be charged in a separate way, and that kind of charging will also be done. So coming to the last advancement in BMS, since I have told this all features of advancement, I mean features of BMS, whatever is mentioned in this is not in a single strand. Like once the BMS was made first, they have not given all these points, or they have not designed in such a way, the architecture was not in such a way that this all parameters will be involved. So based on the advance, when it comes for the word named advancement, it is like a research that happens, and we are maximizing the utilization factor in particular field of requirement. If the for the same battery, I can have different requirements, say 5 requirements. One, it should have to have a complete life cycle. I mean, it should have to have a high life size. The second will be smaller in size. Third will be charge density should be small, I mean high, and your fourth will be like this kind of whatever the requirements what I want will be like used in the advancement. So based on advancement, I should have to start designing my, I mean, sorry, based on my requirement, and I should have to start designing my, you know, device. So in that case, there is where the advancement comes in. So this BMS outline has been given as one of the more this is one of the last advanced BMS system. So in which your MCU will be directly communicating with your CAN module, and sorry, starting from the battery. So from battery, you have your modular, and this modular, and it is connecting to your is communicating with your monitoring and protection circuits from there to your MCU. Again, from your modular package, you are connecting, you are actually computing and you are isolating based on what has to be isolated. This can be isolated and is given to your controller. And again, voltage sensor and your isolation and for your current sensor and your temperature sensor. This all comes in this architecture. And so that is what. When it comes for EV and HEV, a special sort of design and other related features are needed most. And further based on feature list is needed, like reduction in size, more charge density, reduced heat production, and utilizing it in a usual manner. Like whether the heat should have to be reduced or using it in a different manner or other application oriented feature. And the application of BMS is for this particular block. Like the BMS supports like two hardware and software. Like I'll just talk about the application of battery management system more than battery, because the battery anyhow no one is not aware of this battery application. So not aware of like this. So battery management system is of like two standards, hardware and software. So when it comes for hardware, the security, sensor systems, data acquisition, charge control, communication, thermal management, this all comes into the phase. And the software is for SOC, SOH, this, and cell balancing, faults detection, user interfaces. This all comes under the, again, the whatever the features which was given to BMS is one of the application of BMS. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Participants, if you have any queries, please, you can unmute your mic and you can ask your questions.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi.
In India, which are the companies they are means working on this BMS startup companies?
It is not like the companies working on BMS. They are just utilizing the BMS because BMS is actually a standard. As I told you, like there are a lot of standards that comes, and based on your standards, the BMS is being used with a particular hardware setup. So in that case, every OEMs and every electric vehicle companies which works on, electric vehicles, they'll be utilizing the BMS. In short, whoever are working on the powertrain will have their battery management systems in e-vehicles.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello, hi.
Yeah, good morning, sir. So my intention is, let's say a company wants to develop a BMS and sell it as a product or OEM to any of the vehicle manufacturer. It should not be a problem, right, sir?
It should not be a problem, but again, it comes as the requirement from them. Like as I told you, that computation part, as I told you, that slide which was having the computation part,
Yes, sir.
those requirements will be given to you. Like if you are coming forward, like since you have asked, if you are coming forward that you have a solution for BMS,
Okay.
the requirement of what the vehicle the OEMs need, like they want this much of current, like as I told you, that smart features of the mobile phone, like
Correct.
after 5%, your most of your apps will not work. Like we can
True,
make
sir.
it in such a way. So they'll give you the requirement in that case. In this
Okay.
particular voltage of the, this SOC charge, state of charge of your battery, this component should not work. And at this condition, the emergency situation has to be given. This all sort of requirements will be given to you. Based on that, you should have to make your design.
Okay. Okay. So it is like every company will have their own requirements, and if we are manufacturing BMS, then we have to address each and every company and then start producing them or manufacturing.
Yes. Actually,
Oh.
since again the same point, BMS is just the standard of multiple based on requirements. The hardware changes, hardware and software changes, but the standard remains same.
Okay. Okay. Sir. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, good morning.
I
Sir, do we have this BMS as a customized thing for every different vehicle?
Sorry?
Is it customized? Is this BMS customized?
Customized in sense like what is the meaning that you are coming to?
Every manufacturer has his or her own requirement apart
Yeah.
from the basic features that it has to have. Is it
Ah.
that way?
Yes, yes. Actually, like for example, I'll just come with the leading world's electric vehicles like MG and Tesla. They
Okay.
both use BMS.
Okay.
But the BMS standard what Tesla is using and the BMS standard what MG is using
Uh-huh.
is not the same, right? Do you think that it is the same?
Okay. Okay.
Just it again the same point that it is a standard, like it should have to have the monitoring state. Wait, I'll just share my screen.
There are certain essential features that a BMS should have. Additionally, if a company requires additional features, it may mention its requirement, and BMS a developer will be able to provide those additional features. Is it that way?
See,
Have I
this is
understood
what-
it properly?
Yeah. So since you can see my block, right?
Yeah, sir.
So this block is one of the requirements. Like this is one of the standards of BMS.
Okay.
Based on the requirement, the criteria, the ranges changes. Like for the
Okay.
point number 1, hardware, safety, security, circuitry, I can
Uh-huh.
keep it as like after 10%, I should have to get, I mean, Tesla should have to get the final warning that you should have to stop at the nearby bunk, I mean, charging station, and you should have to charge.
Okay.
But for MG, it will be a different case. After
Okay.
5%, go to your, this is the charging station nearby, please go and charge, or else you cannot do any of the functions.
Okay. Okay. I understand, sir. Thank you.
Any queries?
Sir, one more thing I wanted to know.
Yeah, ma'am.
When a device is plugged into the charger, the battery in that device, for example, our laptop, we have plugged it into the charger, and it is completely charged.
Okay.
In spite of it, it is on. The power is on. What exactly takes place within the battery, sir? Like it's completely charged. I mean, do you have a circuitry to disconnect the battery from the power supply, or something else happens?
No, that is what I'm saying. Based, do you're talking about the electric vehicles, or you're talking
No,
about?
I'm talking about a battery which is for a device. Could be for our laptop, could be for our mobile. You know, it is completely charged and you forgot to switch off the supply.
Yeah.
So it is
Yeah.
connected.
Yes.
What exactly happens? They say, it's overcharging.
Yes.
I mean, what exactly happens within the
Like
battery?
your electrical component starts to get decorroded. Like if you are putting a lot of effort on something and your electrolyte is completely saturated, that your ions are in your cathode and anode, I mean, based on what it is, and there is no way that your battery is getting charged. So in that case, there are two conditions that happens. One, it again starts its particular, what to say, your
There is some kind of stress that gets developed, is it?
yes.
Sir, can we not have a circuitry which will identify that the device is 100% charged and you have to disconnect? Can we not
Yeah,
have a
that
circuitry of
is
that
not
nature?
being used in the wireless chargers. When it comes for one technology to other technology,
Yeah.
like wireless charger and wireless charger, it happens in wireless chargers.
But don't we have it in wired chargers?
Wired
No?
chargers, I don't think there is that kind of technology. Still, it came in, our mobiles or whatever things. But when
Okay.
it comes for wireless chargers, since I was also involved in that design phase, I'm just saying you that.
Okay.
Because this
Okay.
is one of the most changeover what we have faced from, wired charger and wireless charger while designing it.
Okay. So in wire chargers, as of now, we don't have such a mechanism, is it? I mean, I'm ignorant. I'm asking you, sir. I just don't know.
No. Maybe in the vehicles it might be there based on the
Okay.
requirements. I mean, in Tesla, I think they would have given all those features,
Okay.
but I don't know how far and where are those got involved. That deep study was not yet done.
So, for example, your Apple laptop
Yeah.
is supposed to be a high-end laptop. Do they have such kind of a feature in their charger? Is something I just wanted to know.
No, ma'am, I don't know about laptops. I'm so sorry.
Okay. 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 All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So on behalf of the organizing team, department HOD, principal ma'am and CE sir, I thank today's resource person, Engineer J.S. Kripakaran, for accepting our invitation and given an overview about the battery system engineering. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So next session starts at 11:30. Thank you. So Kripakaran sir, you can leave. He'll
Yeah,
talk
thank
later.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. இதோட இது